I'm just waiting for you to say something else.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, begin.
I'm too.
Welcome to the podcast. We are so glad you joined us, and if you can hear the laughter, we
just have fun when Katie's in the studio. That's all it has to do with.
I'm like making myself weepy here, laughing too much.
Well, we've got some great conversation topics, and it's always great to have Katie join us.
That's right.
But we travel around. And we collect questions, and we are out at events getting them, as well as people who email us in. Yeah. And
actually, the questions this time that Katie has here, there's a couple questions here that I'm like, I don't know if we've actually ever answered this. Yeah. Like, in the 10 years of doing the podcast, I don't know if we've talked about this directly. So I think that these are going to be helpful to our listeners.
If you are intrigued, you're wondering, is this for me? This show was designed specifically for our listeners. And we are in November, right? When this is being released, and we're in the midst of, or just beginning, if you will, the beginning of our fundraising appeal.
Yeah.
And we exist. We are able, both through the podcast, the courses, the retreats, the free resources, the mentoring, all that we are able to do is because of donors like you. This is a listener-supported, donor-supported organization. We have some who are able to make very large donations, but many who are making $100 here or $25 a month. And that has become a lifeblood for us that has allowed us to grow and expand. I'll say this in candor, I don't believe there's any other organization right now that is doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't believe there's any greater work in the world, in the church, than strengthening the family. And I pray that in the future that we're one of many. Yeah. But right now, we would want to invite you to join our mission. If you are not a current donor, we'd love for you to join us. Maybe you're going to help by fund a scholarship, pay for somebody to take a course who wouldn't otherwise do that, maybe with a gift of $150 or something like that. Or maybe you look and say, I really want them to continue to grow and expand the courses like we've heard in the survey, to offer the Growing Up Weekend.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you can be a sustaining member to help us invest in programs like that by being $25 or $50 a month to join us.
You know what? And for $25 a month or more, you would become a member. And I just want to do a little plug for our member site, the Messy Family Neighborhood. And our members are very important to us.
Yes.
We invest in our members. We have date nights that are exclusively for our members, where we gather on Zoom. We pray together. We have small groups of couples that meet. We take questions. We do our mom circle. So about twice a month, I'll get on live with moms who are at home with their kids. Some of them are working. Some of them jump on their lunch break. And we've really gotten to know each other. And I do a little presentation, maybe 10 minutes, but then we just take questions and problem solve and help and support each other.
Yes.
We also make ourselves available to our members for mentoring. So there's a calendar app where you can go and schedule a time to talk to us. And that is exclusive for our members, as well as the regular member stuff, which is just a feed of free resources and things that are
discounts on all our courses,
discounts for courses, things like that. So if you were like, you know what, I love the Messy Family Project, and hey, I have an extra $25 a month, go ahead and become a member, and then you get those benefits. And also, it's really, really supporting us. So just a little plug for the Messy Family Neighborhood.
And it's the Messy Family Neighborhood because we all need a community.
That's right.
People are looking for community in the world, but this is a place for you both to give and to receive. A place where you can share wins and or prayer intentions, or you're looking for advice, but also to see what other families are doing. And we're trying to invest more in this community because I think now more than ever, we need each other. And so both support the Messy Family Project and allow us, the larger community, to support you.
Yep.
All right. So
there you go.
That's it.
That's all we got.
Okay. And is this the
date night? November 21st. Dr. Greg Pitaro. Still not too late. Just jump in. Get the Zoom link. join us. Have some great questions for Dr.
And
Greg.
then do we have a member date night exclusive for members with Emily Stimson?
That's
right.
right. That's right. We're going to be talking about upcoming Christmas and hosting and ideas. So Emily's going to be on with us. She's a very good friend.
So if you're for members, you want to join us for then. If you're not,
Exactly.
if you want to join it before then, it's a great members date night that we're doing.
Yeah. That date night with Emily is only for our members. So that's going to be in December. But the public one is for Dr. Greg for everybody.
Everybody can go for free. Okay. All right. So Katie's here. So that means we should have like a questions theme,
Oh my gosh, we totally should. Maybe we'll
We need
get
to make a jingle. Hello, I am your co-host now.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Coco.
Just Coco. Assistant 2.
Yes.
Assistant to the regional.
Assistant 2, the regional co-host.
So you collect
Yes.
the questions from our listeners.
Yes, I see all the emails, so thank you everyone. And it's funny because some of these questions I'm like, this is good for me to know.
Yeah.
Because
You're not alone.
their moms just like me.
Yes.
Moms and dads. All right, so our first question, great question for me who has a choleric child. How do you respond to a child who doesn't want to forgive when you try and prompt them to forgive? When they're withholding any...
Does it say anything more about age? They're withholding
it's
forgiveness.
Just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a quick question.
Yeah.
Well, so one, we as adults and for kids, we don't forgive when we feel like it because
Yeah.
forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is primarily a decision, an action.
It's a choice.
It's
Yeah.
a choice. And so I don't believe we should wait until they feel like forgiving. And so if they don't want to, you make them, right? You say, no,
Yeah.
this is what we do. In our family, we forgive because we're Christian. That's what we believe. And that doesn't mean that means it's all resolved and there's a full reconciliation. I get that. But it needs to start with the supposition that every child, every member of our family needs to always forgive so that, and learning the words. I always think, Alicia, you kind of came up with the hands, head, and then heart. That there's a progression of we get them to do the right things, then we get them to understand that why they should be doing those right things, and then they actually have the heart where there's a full internalized motion, and we progress in that order. So when you have a child who doesn't want to forgive, teach them the right hands, the things to do. And it's not faking it. It's getting the behaviors in line. And then we're working as they get older to internalize what they did wrong, how there was something that they need to take ownership of. And then ultimately our goal is that they do internalize. They do have a full appreciation of what was wrong and why I want to, and personally now motivated on their own to do it.
Yeah. So if you're talking about like a toddler, right? A toddler, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, somebody under the age of 5, you would sometimes it's like the idea of doing it with their body. Have them even say, "Well, I need you have to give them a hug. You have to give them a hug if they're, if they don't, because sometimes just the action of hugging kind of like breaks that tension.
Yes.
Because if they're really like digging in, and it's really just that moment, you just need a little crack, right?
Yes,
you just need to kind of like break through somehow, and sometimes the physical action of hugging or laughing, like really, but if you sit there and you're just like, do it now. They're just going to be like, especially somebody like Lena.
Catalina.
She is just going to be like, now you're telling me to do this? Now I'm definitely not doing
Yes.
it, Okay, so don't do that.
Right.
Yes, good point.
Sometimes you got to kind of go around the back and be like, okay, I'm going to tickle you. If you don't forgive them, I'm going to tickle you. Right? I got to tickle, whatever. Do something to distract them to kind of like break that and then be like, you know what? Jesus really wants you to forgive. We need to forgive. Okay. All right. Now, after we're laughing, everything's just, all you have to do is just say, I forgive you,
Yeah.
So if they're little, that's obviously a little bit easier.
Right.
If they're an older kid, who does understand and who is definitely choosing to not forgive, I feel like that's a longer conversation.
Yeah.
Because
true.
It says in our most basic of prayers, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, And so like to tell a child who has already received First Communion, who has already gone to confession, tell them it is sinful for you to not forgive your sister.
Right.
And if you insist on not forgiving them, you're going to have to go to confession because that's sin. That is a sin right now for you to do that. And God can't forgive you unless you forgive, or God won't, because he is bound by that prayer. This is who he is. And so to say that, and just to make clear too, if it is an older child, to say to them, it's okay if you are still angry.
Yeah.
If you are still angry because they destroyed something, they took something, affirm that and just make them feel seen and understood. Say, I understand that you're angry. I would be angry too.
Right.
But you still need to make that choice to forgive them. You just say, I forgive you. I forgive you for doing that. And then we'll move on from there. And maybe you have to forgive them more than once, and for them to know, like one of the CFRs said once, that you forgive until it doesn't hurt anymore. Like you have to forgive if they have to say, I forgive them over and over and over again. That's okay.
Yeah.
And the feelings will catch up.
And just on, sorry, were you going to say that?
I was just going to say that kind of connects which is what I liked what you said. Forgiveness is not a feeling.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're still angry. Making that connection that
Absolutely.
you shouldn't feel the need to forgive. It's not going to always come like that.
Well, but and just going along with that, particularly with a younger child, right? If they're like, no, I don't want to do that, right?
Right.
You already said this, but it's like, okay, right now you're going to do that backdoor, change them, but the goal is still the same.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of how do we get there? And then it needs to become a habit of your home so that it's like, this is the expectation.
Right.
And so the sooner you start it, the better. So if they're really young and say, oh, no, you can't take so-and-so's joy, even if it's unreasonable that they are sharing, they hit somebody, say we're sorry, and we move on. And we put them in an environment where they're going to it's easier for them to do the right thing. Again, that's a whole other conversation in some ways, but it's always oriented towards, you might need a brief dad joke, tickling, hugging, physical contact. Again, all of those things are good to kind of break through, but your goal is still the same.
I just thought of something, another way you could break through is even with like, is she 3, Lena?
Physical motion,
almost
too.
4.
Well, what I was just thinking is that even for her to hug the child who's having a hard time forgiving, and even saying to them, come here, give me a hug. I know you're really sad. I know you're really angry. For a mom to
who's having a hard time with the one who's forgiving.
Right. So like, for example, not to pick on Lena, but
it's
like
great example.
if she's standing there, it's like, no, I don't want to forgive him. I'm going to say it. For you to gather Lena in your arms and give her a hug and be like, I know it's so hard. I know it's so hard because you're really angry. Empathizing. Exactly. Yeah. That also can kind of help break through to them.
Yeah.
So again, they feel seen, because I think sometimes people don't want to forgive because they feel like, if I let go of this, that means that I don't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. And for you as a parent to be like, no, you do matter. Your feelings do matter. And I know it's really hard. And giving them that hug, and that kind of softens them up.
Right.
And that helps them to be able to say, I forgive.
And as they get older, they need to know that justice, particularly, they're going to have a strong justice streak as they're in the preteen years. And it carries over, right? But that's a truth. We don't want them to lose that. We don't want them to lose and say, no, someone isn't supposed to treat you that way.
Mm-hmm. Don't be a pushover.
The reason you're forgiving is because something was done that was wrong. It was unjust.
Exactly.
Right? And so be okay with that.
Right.
But it doesn't help you. And again, as they get older, we did a whole podcast on forgiveness. We can go into deeper detail on this, but it's important that we empathize in a certain way at all levels.
Yeah.
So that we're doing this for their good. We're not imposing something on them per se. We're actually helping form them into who they ought to be in the freedom that we desire for them in the future.
I love that. Yeah, because when I think about like emotionally healthy, just raising emotionally healthy whole people, I'm like, those are people who are like, that was wrong. I am just like, I can see that, but I forgive. Like, that's so emotionally like,
right. That's
like
a maturity.
Advanced, that's a maturity, and that's what we should want for our kids. And starting it now. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. Next question. Okay, so this is a question which again also applies to me because both Jorge and I, both my husband and I are working. So this mom she is kind of dealing with complicated feelings about both of them working. She's like, I know it's ideal to have one main provider at home, and for that, often to be the father, but circumstances come up. Just advice on how to navigate this working. Let's see. They don't want to be like this forever, but she has mom guilt for not spending more time with her kids, and balancing it all as a juggle, but she knows she can do this. Talk about families both working full time and giving tips on how to be present and make the best out of it, whether it's long term or short term, or regardless, you're in it. And any thoughts?
So one, this is not easy, right? Because I think this is more difficult in general for women. Yeah. It is difficult for men too, right? But it is more difficult for women because the role of the mom has 2 full-time jobs. If she works outside the home, and we were just watching a show the other night where it's like, the only way you can do 2 jobs is do both of them poorly. And that's the mom guilt, right? That was the comment that was made. And I really believe that moms have a superpower they need to tap into to know how they can be present at home in the right times. Like, I'll just say my mom growing up, she was a nurse, right? Yeah. But she engineered her schedule, which I never appreciated until later, where she was there in the morning when we went off to school, and then was there when we got home from school, and then she'd often work the night shift. Yeah. And I'm like, that's crazy, you know? Like, I don't know if I would do that. But moms have a heart for their children, which is, and I think part of this is that women in general are oriented towards relationship, and that the most crucial relationships are the relationships of the home. Right. And so when you choose to work outside the home, or you feel compelled to, or have to, or whatever, just recognize that your heart is oriented, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a gift of God, oriented towards people. Yeah. So how to move from the guilt that is unnecessary and inappropriate to the guilt that kind of spurs us to do something different. Because if you're feeling a guilt, I always feel like there's a difference between that guilt and shame. And if you're feeling the guilt that you're not giving to your family, well, then let's change that.
Start giving to them.
What could you do to be more effective and more present? And again, I'm going to speak more as a dad, but as a dad, if my wife is working and she's also still being kind of in charge of the house and cleaning up and all these things, let's pause and say, how do you as a dad contribute to this? Because I really believe, and this is me being a chauvinist, but me saying that as a man, I want to do everything I can to make it so that my wife is free to choose to be at home. Financially, right? Now, that isn't always possible, and it may, particularly in the beginning, it might be very tricky to do that, right? But that's my goal as a husband. But then if I can't do that immediately, I look and say, I get it. You have a deeper need than I do to be more emotionally present. How can I, as a husband, help make that happen so that you're not just simply the servant? You're not simply, when you're home, you're doing X, Y, and Z. That I'm really collaborating with you in this endeavor, because the decision shouldn't be one or the other. Meaning, hey, well, you decided to go to work. The 2 of you should decide together. We're doing this, and there are sacrifices that we're each going to need to make this work. And so, as a dad, I want to say, I'm all in. How can I help? What can I take off as burdens that aren't necessarily your burdens to carry? Does that make sense? Or how chauvinistic was I in that? You know?
No.
Collaboration.
I think it's a collaboration and recognizing that you have different roles in the family. Because the other thing too that I'm thinking is that we're dealing, at least in the US, and I know in other countries too, with the economic realities of the impossibility of housing costs and life costs,
which makes
and
it
everything.
Impossible to not have a double income, which is a whole other issue, right?
I was just going to say, which is a whole other issue.
Our economy should exist so that you could live on one income. That is becoming
unjust. It is that is a bigger issue, but there is an injustice.
That's right.
In our system.
Recognize that.
And we do want to recognize that that the economy of the 90s is not the economy of today.
It's not dreamland, trying to stay home.
Yeah. So I do want to say that, but then what that's coming up against is the reality that it is best for children to have one of their parents at home with them in the early years. And that's just the reality
0
of
to
it.
6 particularly, right?
0 to 6 particularly, yeah. And that's the reality, is that is what is best for children. I'm not going to lie to you and say that's not what's best.
Right.
Oh, they'll be fine. No, it's difficult.
Right.
But you know what? People have raised kids in difficult circumstances.
Always and
it's
always will.
Yeah, we always have. They always
Right.
will. There's kids being raised in war-torn areas right now, who are migrant families, who are refugees. Like, it happens. Like, there is difficult circumstances. And just to recognize that you have to make a choice. You're never a victim. You're never a victim. But if you look at your circumstances and you say, you know what? I'm going to go to work and I'm going to choose that. This is the lifestyle that we're choosing for this reason. And I'm going to recognize that if this is God's will for me as a mother, that means it's God's will for my children, and he will make up for what is lacking in our family. You must trust the Lord. Like, you have to trust him if it truly is something beyond your control. And then you have to say, I'm not being forced to do this. I'm choosing to do it.
That's right.
I'm choosing
That's a
to
difference.
respond. Exactly. It's an internal difference. I'm choosing to respond in this way to these circumstances. If you feel like we could do this differently, then talk about that.
Right.
Come to your spouse and be like, you know what? I'm really feeling restless. I'm really feeling that there's something else that we should be doing right now. Have that conversation and come to it, because remember, we always say it's better to be wrong together than right alone. It's better that the two of you come together with an imperfect plan that you are unified in than for you to be like, well, I'm just going to go to work because this is what I think I should do.
Right.
And I don't care what you think. Or I'm going to stay home even if you don't think I should stay. You know what I mean? Like, that's a bad idea. Just come to your spouse. And I really believe this, that if you and your spouse come before the Lord and you say, Lord, here's our family. This is our life. Show us what to do. We don't know what to do. He is faithful. Yeah. God will show up. He will show up. And that is the beauty of being a Catholic family and having a sacramental marriage.
Yeah.
It's because it's not just the two of you have to figure it out by yourself. And that the Lord will be faithful. He will help you.
And a big thing that we always focus on is about moving from a frantic lifestyle to a fruitful and intentional lifestyle.
Right. Yeah.
And if and we know many moms and dads who both work outside the home who have raised great kids, right? Have fulfilled their role and they've launched amazing kids into this world. So it's not an either or, but it's about you in your home moving from, if you're feeling mom guilt, there might be a little bit of franticness going on. How do you move to a more fruitful, intentional life? I'll just suggest to you, do a family board meeting. You, the two of you sit down and get to a place where you can say, I now understand, I'll just say this as a husband, I now understand your situation, your problem, and we can work on this together.
Exactly.
And then it's no longer your problem, it's our problem.
Right.
And getting unified and clear on how we move forward. And that gives you some peace, that gives you clarity and allows you to be super intentional. Again, whether it be seasons or whether it be a long-term thing, let guilt drive you to do the right things, not linger in it. And that could be whether you're at home or not. It doesn't,
True.
That's the goal is that you are both unified and you're living a peaceful, intentional, fruitful life.
And I do want to say something on a practical level.
Yeah, because
that's what she's asking. How do I make my time there present?
Yeah.
I would say kind of do the family board meeting, like Mike said, and cut out every extraneous thing.
Yeah.
Do not be on when you
kids' activities as well as your activities.
Your kids,
Right.
if your kids are, did she say how old her kids
didn't.
are?
No, she didn't.
I would say your kids, they do not need to go to any activities.
Right.
Like zero.
They need
nothing.
you.
No, yeah. Do not, if they are not teenagers yet, they don't need you to be in anything.
Yeah.
No soccer, no, you do that with them. When you are home, both you and your husbands, no phones. Put your phone in your room. There is nothing that is more important than your children, because you only have, a couple hours with your kids before they go to bed. Like you need to be, you make yourself present right there. Electronics, strict rule. No electronics at all. No friends, no works, great boundaries for work.
Right.
You have to just be there, and then make sure, and you will find that time that you'll have together could be extremely fruitful.
Yeah.
Maybe even more fruitful than if you weren't working.
Spending all day together.
That's right, because you're going to be super intentional.
Exactly. So maybe you're all making dinner together. You're doing chores together. You're playing with the kids after dinner. You're all reading stories together. Like you're teaching them. Like do all of those things. Make your life very, very intentional. Right. And it's really possible. And if that's what God is calling you to do, he's going to bless it.
And in the midst of this too, let's not forget that marriage needs to be the number one relationship in the home, right? Because as moms and or dads are feeling that pull, that strain, that they're not present, make sure you're doubling down on date nights, making sure that you're putting marriage first and your kids know it.
Right. Once every other week that you're going out.
It flows out of it that you can be more present.
Yeah.
So
100%.
there you go.
Love it. Okay, great. All right. Where's my mouse? There it is. Okay. Okay, so this is a great question because we don't often get questions about older children.
Good.
So this is anything that might support all of us parents letting our first child go off to college. I feel like my heart is breaking and I don't know how to deal with the bittersweet emotions.
First child going off to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, don't you guys remember when that happened?
Well, it's funny that we have you here.
I know.
It is
Talk
funny.
about me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, so I remember the first thing that comes to mind is when Katie went to college. And now we have a unique advantage over most people is that most of our kids, all but one so far, has gone to our local college, Franciscan University here in Steubenville, Ohio, right?
Go Barons.
That's right. And but I remember saying to Katie, for the first 2-3 weeks, I want you to immerse yourself in college life.
Don't talk to us.
Don't talk to us. Don't, just get to know everybody so that we weren't a crutch or whatever. And I think a week went by and said, she hasn't called. Why hasn't she called? Let's go. I remember just feeling that. And it was harder for the first child than it was for the other kids.
Yeah.
And you were
And for
also,
some kids, it was super easy. Don't let the door hinge on the way out, honey.
Oh my gosh.
But recognize that this is hard, right? Recognize. And so for those who are in the midst of it, if you're feeling sad, you're feeling a loss, you're feeling a hole.
Yeah.
It's real. It's okay. If you're looking forward and your child isn't, recognize that's.
I was laughing because I'm thinking this woman is a much better mother than me. She sounds so sweet.
Well, there are people who are naturally disposed who are more sweet for sure. But
so this is the one thing too that I was thinking is that to always remember the goal of our parenting.
Yeah.
Is to get the kids out of the house. No, in a
to
positive sense.
them.
In a positive sense, the goal of our parenting is to form and to raise mature adults.
Right.
And so, that is, the goal is not that your kids stay at home. Right. The goal is that your children are out in the world doing what they've been called to do.
Yes.
And so I think when we have that in our minds during the teenage years, that will help us prepare for that time. And I think it's really beautiful, like to have a child that you really like being around. And all of us should like being around our kids. I just remember a line from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. His father said, you left just as you were getting interesting, It's like just as kids become 17, 18-year-old adults and you're like, oh, we can like have conversations and stuff. Oh, now they're gone. Oh, shoot.
yes.
But there is some truth to that. And I think that can be hard because you're also, it's not even just that they're not around anymore. It's that your relationship is changing. I heard once, one of my friends said that you change from being a coach to being a cheerleader. And and I thought it was a really good analogy because what does a coach do? Like when you're during the teenage years, right? And younger, of course, like you're saying, okay, do this. This is what you should do. You're good at that. Go. No, don't do that. Wait, do that. But when your kids go off to college, your coaching days are over. Right. You're done coaching. Like now you're the cheerleader.
Support them.
You're saying, you can do it. I believe in you.
Right.
You're awesome. And see what happens. Sometimes parents get confused because if they start coaching their kids and then their kids are like, back off, they're not saying, go away, don't do anything. They're saying, I just don't need a coach.
Right.
But they need you.
Yeah.
They still need you in that cheerleader role. Mm-hmm. Saying, hey, how are you? I'm so proud of you. You're doing great. yeah, it's really difficult. Hey, you're getting your feet underneath you. You can do it. Like go team.
And,
and I think
even
it's important to remember the differing roles.
And this happens in hopefully under your roof a little bit. Like this is the challenge is if we haven't done some things in the teenage years, it actually makes it harder if they're off at college, both emotionally, but also even from a kind of behavior and moral and confidence in their ability to make good decisions. You want to make sure they're making good decisions under your roof, that you've given them enough freedom where they can make mistakes. And that when they come to you like, I don't know what I should do about blah, 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 blah. You're like, I don't know. What do you think you should do? And you should, again, coach them so that they are making the right decisions while they're under your roof so that you have greater confidence when they go off. There's not just an emotional loss there, but there is a flowering of your parenthood, right? And so that you see that progression, like you said. But then when they're off in college and they are like, sometimes I have to help them with financial aid or have to do, but there are all these things we want to make sure that we're passing the baton to them in so many areas of their life because we kind of taking a step beyond just the emotional challenge of them not being around is making sure that now that they're off, we're showing them things, while they're a teenager, I think I've showed everybody, Carrie, you can correct me, but how to change a tire, how to do, skill things, but also how to discern, how to talk through some things and how to make good decisions. And then as they're in college, making good schedules so that they're on time for there are all these things that you're seeing that full flourishing or the full flowering of your parenthood. And you no longer get the credit because they're fully on their own, and you want and when you see whether it be grades or friends or activities, things that they're involved with, kind of like your cheerleader, inside take pride in the fact that this is what you had been hoping and praying for all these years. And then even when they make mistakes, it's theirs, it's not yours. And be okay with that. And they're going to make different choices than you do, but you want to be you're always their parent. You're never their peer or friend, but you're a little bit more like a friend at that time. A little bit more.
And I think it's okay to grieve that, because also there's going to be a grieving too when your child gets married. Because there's a whole other level of independence. It's just, it's transitions.
But when they're in that first year, start making those habits now of how you're going to incorporate them as an adult. Like when they come back home, what are those expectations? So that they should change. They should look different, right? But there still should be some level of expectation of them being a part of things while they're still in college. But then again, it's kind of like another severing that once they graduate, they're off in the great wide world. And you, again, want them to launch and out there be successful.
It's just little pieces of your heart walking around the world when you're a mom.
And just off. Yeah. I don't want to think about that yet.
Don't worry. You got a little time.
I got some time. What do you call? I guess you said that with boys, that it's one long breakup.
Yeah.
I know when I saw that, I was like, I wonder if it's a boy or a girl, because I feel like with girls, in some ways it's a little bit easier because girls talk. You can call on the phone and there's a little bit more. But with boys, much of our relationship has been just being together. Just being around and doing things together. So talking on the phone with your son is a little bit, for most boys, for my boys, I should say. I know that the moms who do have boys who talk, but it's different, and I always say, like, I'm in love with my sons. I really am, like each one of them. I'm in love with them on different levels. And it is like the longest breakup of your life,
right?
Launching a son into adulthood, but it has to happen.
Yeah. That's why it's the bittersweet,
It is. I'll go with the room one.
Yes. Did I miss that one? Yep, I did. Okay. Almost. Okay. All right. This mom wants to do an episode on room sharing. Why parents might choose it for their kids to share rooms beyond the practical, like the benefits it can bring, how to choose who shares with who, when to split up boys and girls, how to make it work when different kids of particularly different ages and temperaments are sharing, how to make things fair, private space, possessions. And how to make other kids respect that. This is a great question because it's also kind of all encompassing.
It could be a whole episode right there for that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a future.
That is And it's so funny because I don't think we've ever been asked this question.
But this is like so.
But it is very practical.
Yeah.
And it is definitely something it's something we had a definite philosophy about in raising you guys. So in our oldest 5 children, we have 4 girls and 1 boy. So it's Katie, Patrick, and then three girls in a row.
More Emily, Maggie.
So yeah. And then 9 years later, Mikey and Jimmy arrived, and Pat was the happiest man on earth, the happiest little boy on earth, when his 2 brothers were born. But anyway, so the point is that Pat shared a room with you, I think until he was like maybe 5.
I don't even remember.
Maybe he's like, sure. Yeah, it was really, really, really young.
So young, it doesn't matter, little guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then as far as splitting up boys and girls, but then what we did is that we moved from him sharing with a sister who was close in age to if we had the ability to have him have a room by himself,
right,
I would have.
Right.
But what we did is we put him with the baby.
Yeah.
And so Patrick was always with whoever was the baby at that time. So he was a 5-year-old
because he had all these sisters all around him.
Then a 7-year-old. Then he was 7 and he was with the newborn. Then he was 9 and that's when Mikey was born. And then he was with the newborn.
Yeah.
Because I think that having boys and girls share a room is definitely problematic.
Okay.
After the age of reason, after like 5 or 6, because there is a certain amount of privacy, and changing and all of that.
And particularly boys do things that girls will not find very appropriate.
Yes, definitely not. And so there is definitely a...
and they have cooties too. Did I mention that?
Yeah. And then it kind of got to the point when Pat was a teen,
right,
that he built a room in the basement.
Which was a great little thing that he and I did together.
Yeah.
We built this little space in the basement.
Because he needed that space, and that's another thing to really recognize. When kids become teenagers, I'll put it this way. When kids are little, you can pack them all in, right? You can have 4 kids in a room, 3 kids in a room. And it really becomes problematic to do that as teens.
Yeah.
Because teens do need their space. That period of adolescence, changes that happen in adolescence from 11, 12, 13-year-olds all the way through 16. We as parents, and we've talked about this before, need to have great compassion for those preteen and early teen years because they are going through a huge amount of physical changes. They feel awkward about their bodies. They feel like there's all kinds of hormones going on. There's things changing all the time. They're getting used to it. They have to have privacy. That's the time that if you have a big family, I would do a teen with maybe a little baby,
right? But
try to give them as much space as possible. We would have teen girls, room together, because if they were
sometimes
close,
it worked, and sometimes it
works, and it didn't. So that's good. It's a whole other thing, right? And so we did kind of encourage. My mom kind of had a philosophy: if she saw 2 kids not getting along, she would make them room together.
Oh God!
to try to kind of like get them to get to bridge those gaps.
And when they had one kid actually send another kid to the hospital. No, I'm just kidding.
But we would. Growing up, and we kind of did this too.
Okay.
We always switched rooms around, right? In the Domans, and I think with you guys too. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even remember because like there was never like, this is my room.
Right.
Like your entire life, this is my room. We didn't really do that.
Oh, yes.
We switched it up a lot. And I remember my mother doing that on purpose because first of all, she wanted us to get to room with different members of the family, right? To kind of like get along and get to know them.
Right.
But also there was something about like a possessiveness that and a materialism that she was trying to like combat to like, we our possessions. My mom was always like, this is actually my house.
Right.
You are living here, but you will not be living
I bought
here
everything
10 years from now, Right. And it's true.
That's true.
Now we only have 3 kids living at home and all these people are gone,
Yeah.
So it's not like Katie's room. It's like, no, this is our home.
Yes.
This belongs to everyone. That's part of that living in community and not like, oh, this is this child and this is their, like, we're going to do everything for them. No, they're a member of the community.
Family centric, not child
exactly.
centric.
Well, family centric.
And just leaning into that, just the whole idea of sharing rooms at all, right?
Yeah.
The whole point
Yes.
is that
Right.
you're learning in a very
Right.
intimate setting how to get along with other people. You're getting to learn how to share. You're getting to learn how to have this dynamic between people. But there's also, as they progress, there's a certain sense of ownership, like without possessing everything or being consumeristic or whatever, that there is a beauty to be able to say, this is part of my character. These are part of my expression, and that I'm learning my sister or my brother's expression of things, whether it be music or whether it be art or decoration. But then there is this whole level where there is a natural intimacy that comes from sharing a room with somebody.
You mentioned about like you and Kevin, your brother Kevin.
Yeah,
I remember you talking about that.
I just think back on, again, just for me growing up, thinking about my, I would say I was for many, many years closest with the brother who I spent a room with, who he was older enough from me that there was no like competition or anything like that.
He's like 5 years older than you.
Yeah, 5-6 years or something like that. But I remember it being like the coolest thing. Like I got to use, now I'm going to date myself, but we had 8-track tapes, which is amazing. But I got to listen to his bands, or I got to listen to things that I'm like, wow,
Cool older brother.
he is so cool. Yeah. But it's like, but I remember playing like thumb wrestling or whatever, like right before we went to bed, we'd reach across and whatever.
That's so cute. I know.
This like little things that I'm like, those were poignant, beautiful, reflecting back on them. At the time, it was just normal.
Life.
That's what it was. But it's like, but I felt like a brother.
Yeah.
And I felt like I belonged,
Yes.
And there might have been other tensions going on.
Right.
But in my room
You
with
had
my
each
brother,
other.
we had each other.
Yeah.
And there's something powerful about that we can give.
Very much so.
It's not the greatest, but it's one of the greatest gifts parents can give is siblings.
Yeah.
Right. But then it's like, but if we have a house where everybody has their own room, we all have places spread out.
Yeah.
I think you lose something. Like, I love the fact that we didn't have a lot of money when we were first married. I love that we were limited. I love that it was a practical necessity that people needed to share rooms.
Right. We had 5 kids in a 3-bedroom house.
But if I was a millionaire and looking back and know what I know now, I would still make our kids sleep in the same room. Like, sharing that space, sharing that life in a way that you would never do. And that I always had this definition that I feel like family is being willing to wake someone up in the middle of the night to share with them a problem that you're going through. Like, having that level of comfort only comes from time. Lots of time spent together.
Life spent together.
And it again, the macro of your household is, hey, family game night, family fun day, having dinner, like our last podcast, we're talking about family dinner. But it's like, one-on-one or 3, if it happens to be 3 in a room.
Right.
There's something that happens there that can't happen if they weren't together in that space.
Okay, so that being said, I will point out right now there are challenges having kids be in the same room together. Right now, we mentioned we have just 3 kids left at home, 3 teenagers, and we have 6 bedrooms.
Plenty of space.
We have plenty of space. And I, for a hot second, was trying to make my 2 daughters room together, like just because. And they were kind of like, this is stupid, Mom. Now we have 3 extra bedrooms here, so
you're like, what are we doing?
Why are we all together? Because it's been the first time like we've had space for kids to spread out,
Yeah.
And they also, our 2 daughters really, really had a lot of conflict. And we've had this happen with other kids, 2 kids together who just really had a lot of conflict. Right. And so we said, okay, you can have 2 separate rooms. And they were like, thank you.
But
it actually dramatically changed their relationship.
And it helped the relationship. I have to say it did. Well, because we had the ability, to have, and we've had that happen in the past when we put 2 kids together and then it just really wasn't working. There was constant fighting and constant trying to work it out. And then I just gave up or recognized the writing on the wall and been like, okay, this is not going to work. Let's move things around. And so as far as like giving kids their space, I know like one of my sisters, each of her boys has like a box, a box that they have their name carved into it. They each get one when they're born. And that's like their special things that they can have in there. For the most part, we don't have we never had you guys have a lot of toys in your room. And so it was more just like that was a place to study, to read to get dressed. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
All of the toys were down the basement or outside or someplace else. But your room was really a place to read, to get dressed, to sleep.
And sometimes to study and do your schoolwork.
Because we don't want our kids in their rooms a lot. We want their kids, again, living in community with each other. Right. So we don't want them just holed up in there. And so that's something also to be aware of like how you arrange your rooms and privacy and all of that. Teach your kids, hey, when to knock on a door before entering it. Teach your kids if you want to lock your door when you're getting changed, that's fine. But if you're going into a room, make sure that you check before going in. So those kinds of things, and just kind of like learning how to live in respecting other people's things. I mean, I think that's very fair.
Yeah. Agree.
And important.
Yeah. Love it.
All right.
Is there one more? Maybe
there is one more.
Yeah. Great.
All right. Okay, this is another great question because this parent has basically all the same ages of my own children, and I guess I'll just announce this now. And I'm pregnant too, just like this mom.
Yay! So, yay. Due in April.
Yes, Easter baby. Okay, practical question. She says this is practical, but this is also just very like whatever. Mindset stuff too. So. Okay, so she's been either pregnant or breastfeeding for the past 5.5 years straight. And she's
done that.
Yeah. Pregnant with her fourth right now. Takes a lot of energy to take care of and form all of your children. I stay at home and I'm starting to homeschool my almost 5-year-old. Do you have any advice on how to muster up more energy to mold /form /disciple your older children in particular? I have 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 18-month. And then she's due very soon at the end of January. Not very soon, a few months. Yeah. And of course, and her older two have been challenging as of late. And so she's just trying to be more intentional and follow through. But
can I just say one thing first? Because I think I think you need to speak to this.
Yeah.
You got a lot of thoughts.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing is, this is real. This is a lot. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, if you're not feeling overwhelmed, there's probably something wrong. Okay. Then there's something wrong that you need to check on.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling that is right.
Valid.
It's valid. It's appropriate. It's reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's okay. And you are in a season. This isn't forever. But there are things you can do during this season to bring some life and sanity to your life. But I just wanted to start
heavy.
with that it is heavy, it's real, and don't just dismiss it. Don't just walk away from it like, oh, everyone does this.
Yeah. Right.
And if you have not listened to the podcast on the survival zone,
I was about to say,
you need to listen to it. I've had mothers tell me that they're like, oh yes, I've listened to that podcast 5 times, 6 times, 7 times.
Yes.
Part of me thinks I should probably go and we should redo that. Maybe there's probably more things I could add to it.
Actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we should
next
probably
one.
do that. Yeah, exactly.
Got 2 podcast ideas.
So anyway, so just to kind of echo, obviously what Mike said, this is a very, very difficult time in your life. And that's okay to say that. Right. I would also say, and this sounds like a woman of high ideals, because when she's saying like form, discipline, disciple, no. Survive. You are trying, your goal right now for your 5-year-old is to keep them alive. Keep them alive.
It's beautiful that you want to do that.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Do not worry.
Yeah.
Do not worry.
Right.
No worry. What your child needs more than anything else is mom and dad to have a strong marriage. And they need mom to
be okay.
And mom to be okay.
Yeah.
And if the thought of training, forming, discipling your child is stressful for you, just put it aside. Put it aside. And you just say, Lord, I know that you love me where I am, and you just love your kids. Just love them. and model for them the behavior that you would like to see in them. The way you relate to your husband, model for your husband joy, fun, respectful dialogue, listening to each other, being polite, all of that. You model that for your child. They are learning so much. Yeah. Maria Montessori talks about the absorbent mind, right? And that's the beautiful thing. All of these children, these under 6 crowd, right, have the absorbent mind. What does that mean? That means they are learning from the environment around them.
Right.
You don't have to sit down and say to them, this is love. This is joy. Yeah. This is self-control. No. Just do it. Just do it. And they learn it. And so that's why the environment in your home of what are the toys you have out? How do you speak? What's the music you have playing? How do you run your giving them meals, eating, all of that kind of thing? What is your demeanor? That's all part of the environment that they are just naturally absorbing and learning from.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the great joys of having a lot of little kids, is because they do learn so easily, but it's also the challenge because they do learn so easily. Yep. So if mom is stressed out and crazy, one of the things that I know my mother did, because my mom, she had 4 in 5 years as well. She would have had a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, and then she was pregnant, and she really dealt with a lot of postpartum depression. Yeah. And she saw my older sister taking on some of that way of being depressed. And so my mom thought, I need to get this child away from me because I need to deal with what's going on inside of me. And that's when she found Montessori or preschool.
Right.
And so that's why she sent my older sister to preschool, to Montessori school when she was like 2.5. And she did the same thing with all of us coming up. And that was her recognizing, this is my limitation. And my limitation, yes, it would be great if she could have just been happy and just made everything okay, but she couldn't. Yeah. And so she's like, okay, this is my limitation. I need to do what's best for my child, so I'm going to send them to preschool. We did, so when you were little, we were just talking about this before we started recording, when Katie was 3-4 years old, I actually got together with some other moms, and we did like a little co-op. And one day a week, all of the little girls were at this mom's house. Then another day, it was like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I couldn't do it on my own.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I probably couldn't afford preschool because we were like so poor. And so we were like, okay, let's just do this little co-op. And then I had 2 days a week. It was like maybe 3 hours. Yeah, so it was like a morning. 2 mornings a week when little Katie was someplace else, with learning little letters.
Which gave you peace and sanity.
Exactly. Then after that, I started sending kids to preschool. I'm a very big fan of preschool. I really am, because as I started homeschooling the kids who were 5, 6 and up, I realized I need something for this 2 and 3-year-old to do. And so I would always send 3, 4, 5-year-olds.
So play-based anyway.
Yeah. And they had some time away. The preschools were not all day. Yeah. They were all like 3 hours, 4 hours. But that gave me a time. I can hold an infant and I can teach a 5-year-old, and then you have the kids in between that who are away for the morning.
Right.
So recognize that when we say this is a really hard time, it is also unnatural to try to do it on your own.
Right.
It is literally, it is literally unnatural. You were not created. Women were not created to have a whole bunch of kids at home by themselves. They just weren't. No. And we need to stop thinking that that's the way that we were meant to live in tribes.
Right.
Evolution wise, women always had cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, both grandparents on both sides around to help and support her. Now in our culture, it's just not like that. And so all these women are like, I can't do it. People have always done it. And you're like, you can't do it.
That's right.
You need other people. So when I was raising all of you guys, I did not have family in town.
Right.
I did have, some of my siblings were college students, but they were also college students. They weren't necessarily around. But I had a strong group of friends that I could call on, that we could like do that little co-op thing. We could do share carpooling. You know, so I didn't have to drive every day. I had a neighbor who we totally depended on each other, you know, working with each other. I had, you know, women at our parish that we would gather, bring all of the kids, get to know each other. I called some of those older women, asked them for help. I remember once our house had fleas from the dog.
Oh my gosh.
And I was getting ready to have a baby. And it was, and my friend Pam Minto came over and literally helped me clean the entire house, getting ready for this baby to come. There was other and she had, her youngest was like a teenager at the time, you know? And so like, that's what we need. Yeah. We have to have community. Go to your parish, go to a Walking with Purpose group, go to a mom's group, find a Blessed Is She, you know, find goodness, even a well-read mom's group, you know, like there's so many mechanisms of us to find like-minded women who are not necessarily our own age, but of different ages.
Yeah.
But finding women of different ages is really, really important. Because even just to get perspective and ideas from. So don't hesitate to reach out to other people and be the person that says, I'm drowning. I need help. Can I have somebody watch my kids so I can go to the doctor's office? Or I'm pregnant right now and I need to clean my house before this baby comes. Can someone help watch my kids? And I'll watch your kids another day. You know, like we can't be afraid to ask for help like that.
Yeah. And just to kind of repeat something you said earlier, it's kind of the mindset shift, right? Going from, you know, thinking you're drowning to recognizing, okay, you know, you said survive, but ultimately we want to redefine what success looks like in the early years.
Right.
You're actually investing in the things that matter most.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're learning habits that are going to be with you for a long time. If you can make time for your marriage, if you can make time for you to have sanity in the midst of the craziness of all those little kids, just little islands of peace that fill you up so you can go back out, that you can make this an offering, those are going to be habits that will, you know, survive the test of time, right?
Yeah.
This is we need to have that long game, that longer eternal perspective, that we're learning how to be a parent in the midst of chaos. But when you can, in the midst of the noise and the busyness, and you can still have a level of peace saying, I'm not going to live up to the expectations of the world, even the expectations, the false expectations that I've given myself about this is what it looks like to be a saintly mom or a dad. Right. I'm going to be okay with who I am. I'm going to challenge myself to grow, but my growth is going to be ordered towards how do I give myself away more? How do I love my children?
Right.
What do they need right now? Your kids don't need all X, Y, and Z. They need you.
Yep.
Right.
They need you to be present.
Yeah.
I've always get frustrated with when we had lots of little kids, when I tried to do everything I wanted to do. Let go of that for right now. It's okay. Right. And then what you just said, I just think is so beautiful, is because as you're learning how to love your kids, let other people love you. You need to receive so as to give. Making yourself, it's humble. In our world, we want to be self-sufficient and independent and I'm strong enough. Bull crap. You don't need that. Nobody needs that. That's not what we were made for. We were made for other people. We're always going to be dependent. So get over yourself. Be at a moment where you're like, I need help.
Yeah.
Can someone help me? And first, obviously, it's your spouse, but beyond your spouse, even to help in that. That's a big deal. But listen to the
survival
zone, because it's real.
I think I'm going to listen to that today when I'm driving. I think I am. I'm going to go back and listen to it.
Get some new
ideas. It's worth, and then just start taking notes on it.
I will.
But it is. The struggle is real.
Yes.
The suffering you're in is real. So don't ignore that, but offer it up and learn from it. Allow it to help shape and form you, because we say this all the time, but as parents, we don't have a seminary. We just have kids.
Yeah.
And these kids are given to us to help shape and form us into who we are meant to be. You're becoming a better mom. You're becoming a better dad when you don't just try to run from it, escape from it, or just do best practices. You understand it. You allow it to shape and change you. Soften your heart towards your kids, turning your hearts towards each other and together towards your family.
Yeah.
All right. You know, we
All right, we're at time.
Yeah, we're coming up on it's a hard stop here.
Okay, so all right, so these are some great questions. I think Katie, thank you for joining us. This was excellent.
Always great.
And again, if you want to find out more, if you want to send us questions, please do so at our email. But even better yet, become a member, become part of the Messy Family neighborhood. Join us for the upcoming free date night for everybody with Dr. Greg Bottaro, or join us for some of our date nights that we're doing for members. Join us at messyfamilyproject.org. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you.